Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, we have a special announcement from our district translator.
Thank you, President Lopez. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Buenas tardes, habla Paula Balbuena. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, por favor llame al 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 590-731-241 más la tecla numeral. Este es un número totalmente gratis. Nuevamente, llame al número de teléfono 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 590-731-241 más la tecla numeral. También puede acceder a estas instrucciones en nuestro sitio web en mcs4kids.com, dirigiéndose a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Quick Links y haciendo clic en Board Agendas para ir a la agenda de esta noche. O si no, estaré situada en la parte de atrás. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Balbuena. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Modesto City Schools 1483rd regular board meeting of October 17, 2022. I call this meeting back to order. In closed session, board gave direction to legal counsel. At this moment, I will take roll call. Student Board Rep Patel. Trustee Irvin. Estes.
Present.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Trustee Mejia.
Here.
Trustee West. Vice President Brown.
Here.
President Lopez here as well. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. This open session meeting of the Board of Trustees is being live streamed at the direction of the board. The live stream is available at the district website, and recording will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. Modesto City Schools board meetings have been adjusted to follow health and safety precautions until further notice. MCS has provided an opportunity for the public to provide comment. It is outlined on our agenda. The public has been given an opportunity to call and leave a voicemail and send us a comment via email or appear in person before the board. Any public comment received via email or voicemail prior to noon the day of the board meeting will not be read aloud, but have been transcribed and printed with copies for each board member and for the public out in the back lobby. The voice and email public comments will be attached to future board meeting minutes for approval. This practice will continue until further notice. For members of the public that are interested in commenting in the future, we welcome your comments. If for individuals here with us tonight, if you're wishing to speak during our session for public comment, you need to fill out a form, just like a little card just like this, that you'll find out in the lobby. And once you're complete, once it's complete, we'll need to hand it over to Ms. Antoinette in the back. She's raising her hand right now. And if you need translation, please indicate on the card. Please do so if you're willing to speak. If you're wanting to speak for tonight's public comment, fill that out right now, because once we get started, we cannot take any more cards. Every speaker will get 3 minutes to speak for a total of 30 minutes. Okay? And we also wanted to remind you that if you wish to make a complaint against a specific district employee, you should follow the district personnel complaint procedures. Copies of that procedure are available in the lobby as well, as are the agenda which outline the procedures will serve during the period for public comment. The right to address the board does not exempt a speaker from any potential liability for defamation. All right, so this takes us to our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm pleased to introduce two students tonight from Bret Harte Elementary. We have, well, I'll ask the pledgers to please stand, and I'll read a little bit about our pledgers. So we have Jasmine Murillo, a sixth grader. Jasmine is a kind-hearted scholar, who is always willing to help others. She received recognition for excellent reading and writing skill and was reclassified as proficient English learner. Jasmine also demonstrates good character traits that include responsibility, honesty, discipline, and determination. Following college, Jasmine would like to be an art teacher and open her own crystals and art shop. Great. We also have with us Alfredo Cipres. Fifth grader Alfredo is a responsible scholar who demonstrates initiative every day by sharing what actions will increase peace and love on campus. He consistently shows progress with mental math and reading skills and is an excellent leader. Alfredo helped the principal, Conte, create a helpful sign-up document for scholars to read in the morning announcements. He is a true leader and will be amazing in any career he chooses after college. Please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and everyone please stand.
Right hand over your heart. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll be moving on to our welcome and announcements by Superintendent Noguchi.
Thank you, President Lopez. Welcome, everybody. It's wonderful to see so many people out in the audience, and I know it's for a great recognition, so I'm looking forward to that. Because I'm going to be addressing the audience here shortly, I'm going to pause right now and turn it back over to you and hear from you all with your reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this moment, we'll have Board of Education member reports. Do I have lights? I see Trustee West, and we'll start off with you.
Thank you, President Lopez. There's been a lot going on recently. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about most of these things, but there's been a lot of activities that have been going on. I participated in the WASC meet and greet at Johansen High School, which was awesome. I attended the Latino Roundtable Luncheon, which was also really, really interesting, and we heard from a lot of good people at that meeting. We had an exciting ribbon cutting at the new cafeteria at Fairview, and I think we'll all agree. The children, the excitement that was in that room, and those were the most well-behaved group of children. I was really impressed with their behavior. We had a signing ceremony for UC Merced, which is exciting for our students going on. We had a fall board workshop where we talked about safety, which was really valuable. Several of us participated in the Johansen Homecoming on Friday night. And then we had the precinct walk for Measure L on Saturday. So it's been quite a busy time, but really, really fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marks.
Yes, I'll make mine brief as well. I participated in the Fairview Cafeteria Multipurpose Room ribbon cutting. That was so great. And the UC Merced signing. That was awesome. So our students have a chance to go to MJC as juniors. They can start signing up and get automatic admissions. And then I participated in the Grigori homecoming with Trustee Brown and Trustee Omero. And that was Omero Mejia, Mr. Mejia. And we had such a great time at that, riding some of the classic cars. And then I also participated in the Clergy Council this last week with the law enforcement, and it was brought up that they were very concerned about some of the things that you read in the paper about the fentanyl. And so that was a big deal that we had a long conversation about that and our schools and the great partnership that we have with our police department. And then, of course, we did a bunch of walking on Saturday to help with Measure L. So thank you so much. And it has been, when I was writing down when I did this these last 3 weeks, I was like, wow, it's been really busy, but it's been really good too. So that was great.
Trustee Irvin?
Yes. Yeah, busy. Also went to Johansson homecoming and got to ride in some very neat classic cars and to show our support for the new fields there at the high school. Also was involved in the precinct walk. I was actually putting up signs during that day, and after I put up the signs, I hopped in my vehicle and drove to Fresno for the Super Saturday for about 30 of our BSU students was going down there to explore Fresno State. It was a bunch of workshops, really good workshops. Got to attend a couple of those workshops, and one that came to mind was the Where Are the Black Teachers? And this was a program that they're doing in partnership with Fresno County Office of Education and Fresno Unified School District, recruiting more black teachers. But they also had another program where they have AVID in elementary school. So they got AVID in elementary school, middle school, and connected to the high school. So students can have AVID from elementary all the way through high school. So which I thought was very, very promising program to continue the advancement via individual determination that young to start thinking about college. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice President Brown?
Yes, busy time. Almost every day, it seems, since we met last. And in addition to some of the things that have been spoken already, I was fortunate enough to see two of our board members perform in the local performance of To Kill a Mockingbird, and want to commend them on great performances of a very touching subject that is apropos to everything that we do and stand for. So thank you for for what you did for our community in that production. We did miss you at our last board meeting, though. And also, I was able to attend 2 information meetings related to Measure L at both Enox and Beyer High Schools. Interesting the number of people that did and didn't participate in these. We had hoped that we'd see larger groups from the community at those meetings, but the group at Enox was very directed with their questions, and I appreciate the input that they asked, or the questions that they asked, and the answers that we were able to provide them. So I do encourage members of the public to watch for the information meetings that are happening this coming week, and encourage you to participate so that you can be well informed on what Measure L is all about. I will report that the bond committee is very active, and I appreciate those that are putting an effort out in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Mejia?
Yeah, well, I guess this did a lot of the stuff that was been said. I just want to add a couple more. We also participated in the equity committee that we have in the district, so that's going good, and got to hear some reports to that. I also attended the Downey Information Night as well, and I was also able to talk to some parents that had some concerns and just wanted to speak to me about it. So, and a couple of the other events I attended, like Fairview and the homecoming at Gregory and Johansson, and so it's been a really, really busy time, but a really exciting time as well.
Trustee Maestas?
Thank you. I only have a couple things because everybody said everything already. There's so many things going on. I just got to say, it was really amazing to hear how many voices were saying the pledge at one point when we had so many people in the room. So that was pretty awesome. And little kids, I heard a lot of little kids. I also attended the Equity Committee meeting. We talked a lot about our audits in AP and IB and how that's affecting our equitable access here in MCS. And so that was a quite it was a very good discussion, very good discussion. And then I had an opportunity to go to a few conferences. This last weekend, I was at Stan County Office of Education, did a math conference they call MathCon, and I presented on equitable grading. And so I had a good time being able to do that for teachers and coaches and administrators in the county. So that's my time.
Trustee Irvin, you had something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add to thank fellow board members and staff who came out to see To Kill a Mockingbird. I hope they were thoroughly edutained by the performance. And also thank our staff, Associate Superintendent Zerly for responding expeditiously for a parent had an issue at Mark Twain about traffic, a close call there on the road near Mark Twain, and called me, kind of frantic. And, within 24 hours, there was something that mitigate the kind of the high speeding, incidents in the Mark Twain area right there at Panama and California, there across from the gymnasium. And so I just wanted to thank them for that, putting student safety first, because that's what it's all about. And so the response when you get from parents and things like that, and they get happen, and you call the parent back and say, "You been by Mark Twain?" "Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw that." So it's good. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, my fellow board members have said a lot of what we've been doing now throughout the month. I just want to I want to say I was very excited to see the ribbon cutting of Fairview Elementary cafeteria. It's going to be very great that we're also having Shackelford's ribbon cutting later this month. I want to thank the head custodian at Fairview. He did an amazing speech to the students. I think there was a lot of speakers that day, but I think he blew us all away. So thank you for that. To Maestra's point, when the Pledge of Allegiance was going on, I don't know if you know, but our cameras are voice detection, so it'll zoom in on whoever's speaking. It was going crazy back and forth trying to find out who's speaking. And lastly, we were talking about the Measure L community information meeting, so I want to bring them up so people know and people have them. So we have 4 remaining ones. We have one tomorrow, October 18 at 5:30 at Davis, and I'm guessing that's the cafeteria? Okay. And then we have October 24th at Modesto High, either in the auditorium or cafeteria, and that will be at 5:30. Joan Hansen, October 25th at 5:30. Follow the signs. Library. Okay, thank you very much. And then October 26th, Gregory at 5:30. Follow the signs. Okay, so please come out, learn a little bit more about the bond, and and ask any questions. The last couple ones that we've had, we had a not so big of a group that as we hoped, but man, these people were informed and asking very good questions. So please be a part of the conversation. Okay.
Tomorrow night at Davis is in the Little Theater.
Little Theater. Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. And with that, we're moving on to why I'm guessing a lot of you are here for our recognitions of this evening. And that's our new manager's pinning ceremony. And I'll send it over to Brittany. Brittany.
Thank you, President Adolfo. So good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and our MCS families and community here tonight. It is a pleasure to see all of your faces. You look so bright and beautiful, here to support your loved ones. And so thank you so much for coming out. We are excited to welcome new managers to our 8th annual pinning ceremony. Some of our managers here tonight are brand new to the Destination District, and some are already employees working for MCS. However, they are new to their role as managers. So congratulations to all of you. In a few minutes, Dr. Noguchi will be coming up to say a few welcoming words, followed by our associate superintendents calling their new managers up to receive their pin. Couple of instructions for tonight. So at that time, we will also have our board trustees come down and stand to the right of the podium, just to my right here, facing the audience to welcome our new managers at that time. Also, in the interest of time, I know you all would love to take photos. Feel free to do that when your new manager is walking up. However, we will also have an opportunity for your convenience to take photos just outside after all of the new managers' names have been called. Julie Inacio will be assisting in taking photos just outside with all of you. So before we get started tonight, on our consent agenda is a proclamation declaring the week of October 9th through October 15th, 2022 as the week of the public school administrator. School administrators are passionate, lifelong learners who believe in the value and quality and equitable public education. Modesto City Schools recognizes that the key attribute of effective schools is the competent leadership of principals and vice principals. In addition, certified and classified administrators provide leadership and support of our mission to ensure that every student matters and every moment counts. So now for our recognitions, again, we'll have our board trustees come down just to my right, and Dr. Noguchi come down to give just a few words.
So it really is perfect timing that we have that resolution, because it's talking about the importance of administrators or managers, depending upon what role you play. You're either called an administrator, you're called a manager, all of which requires leadership. This is always an exciting time of the year for me, because it's wonderful to welcome individuals to our management team. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of work, dedication, and really courage to be a leader in public education. So we welcome you and your families to our team. Tonight, we are going to be recognizing 20 individuals. We've hired a little bit over 40 this year, which is significantly higher than what we've done in the past. And I want to be able to share the reason for this. We recognize this year, last year, next year, we really have a big job ahead of us, and that is, as we work our way out of the pandemic, there's a lot of social emotional needs, and there's a lot of academic needs of our students. And so this year, to ensure that our principals had the time to be the instructional leaders in the classroom, so we can ensure that our teachers have the support they need academically, we've hired 10 additional site administrators to look and watch and support looking at student data and really keeping the eye on the students, on how well they're doing, both attendance and grades and behavior, just a gamut of different things. So we definitely have some support at our school sites. So raise your hand if you're one of the managers or administrators that you're going to be getting a pin today. I should see 20 of you. Okay, looks like it's kind of heavier on this side of the room. That helps me, because I usually speak to one half of the room. I want to talk just a minute about something that many of others that have been in the system a long time are familiar with, and that is leadership matters. I usually begin a meeting and end a meeting with leadership matters. And why does leadership matter? Part of what Ms. Jackson just said, leadership matters because they play a central role in the running of the school. I see leadership as being pivotal to the work that we do, because without our administrators, we don't have the support and the tools to be able to create a team. High quality teams, not just teacher team, but admin teams, school teams, board teams. I'm the leader of this work here. And so without strong leadership, we don't have the teams that we need to have to ensure we're building the right conditions for our kids. Every single student has different conditions that they need in order to be successful. Your job as new administrators is to figure that out. What does that look like? What do I need to do, either for the adults that are in front of me or the student that's in front of me? And I have to say, sometimes that's daunting, right? There's times where you go, oh, what did I sign up for? I'm not sure I really want to do this. I ask myself that at least once a month, if not more. But when we do ask that, we have to remember you were hired for a reason. I was hired for a reason from the folks that are sitting here. They have the confidence in me to make the decisions that I need to do to make this a destination district, and we're all in this together. And the same goes out to you. For those days that you go home and the family members that are out there, for the nights that you're going to hear, I don't think that I should be doing this, or this is a bigger job than I thought it was going to be. Just recognize we hired you, we believe in you. We're only going to ask two things of you. One, that you ask questions when you don't know something. I ask questions all the time. I have two mentors, two coaches that I pick up the phone. They're down in Southern California, but I pick up the phone and I ask them, what would you do about this? What would you do about that? So you need to ask questions. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you know the answers. You don't. We don't, but we can figure it out together. The other thing that I ask, and I will come to a close here because I know you guys are all ready for dinner and such, is do your very best. That's all we ask. Today, I talked to my sister, who is a new administrator. She's a new vice principal in a district in Sacramento, and she said it was a horrible day. It was terrible. Didn't know what was going on. Didn't get into that. It was a board meeting night, but I did say, did you do your best? And she said yes, and that's all that we can ask for. So ask questions, do your best. We believe in you, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be fabulous, and welcome to our team, the Modesto City Schools team. So with that, I am going to start with the very first recognition, because we have recognitions from Cabinet. We also have maintenance operations, although I don't believe that they are here tonight. The majority of the recognitions that we're going to have is site administrators that have joined the team. And again, you're going to see a lot because we're pouring a lot into our sites right now because of all the needs of our students. So with that, I'm going to ask Brittany Jackson to come up, our new Chief Communication Officer.
So I get to be next, and I'm recognizing Dr. Sarah Olson joining the Curriculum Instruction Professional Development team. We're excited to have her on board.
Good evening. I'm Tim Zerley, Associate Superintendent for Business Services, and I'm pleased to welcome Stephen Fernandez, Director 1 of Transportation.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brad Godot, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. I'd like to first start by thanking Associate Superintendent of CIPD, Mike Rich, for moving that table over so I could slide by. With that, you're going to be stuck with me for about 16 or so site administrators that I am so very happy to introduce to you this evening. We're going to start with Jennifer Adolfson, Assistant Principal at Downey High School. Next, we have Jordan Blansett, Vice Principal at Bret Hart Elementary. Next, we have Diego Castro, a Student Services Administrator at Hanshaw Junior High School. And we have Brian Chuban, Assistant Principal at Mark Twain Junior High. We have Erica Del Toro, Vice Principal at Shackelford Elementary School. And we have Radhika Dinesh, Principal at Burbank Elementary School. You're hired. We got to get him on the communications team. Next, we have Linda Dodge, Student Services Administrator at Grace Davis High. Jennifer Driscoll, Vice Principal, Fremont Elementary. Melissa Estacio, Assistant Principal, Enox High School. We have Sean Evers, Assistant Principal, Gregory High School. Nicole Jensen, Assistant Principal, Modesto High. Maria May, Assistant Principal, Mark Twain Junior High. Yolanda Molina, Student Services Administrator, Mark Twain Junior High. And we have Ton Shafron, Student Services Administrator, Johansson High School. We have Fayez Suleiman, Student Services Administrator, Downey High School. And personally saving the best for last, Dawn Godot, Student Services Administrator, Bayer High School. And with that, I would like to invite up Brittany K. Jackson to introduce our next manager.
So last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome the newest addition to the Destination District and Communications team, Mrs. Linda Muma Solorio. Congratulations, Linda. And so this will conclude tonight's recognitions. There will be a grand rising, I am sure. So after this point in time, we'll have photos right outside the door here. You can exit through the foyer and take your group photos. And let's go ahead and do that now. Hi, Mom and Dad. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break.
You didn't finish Hi, Mom and Dad. You know,
Welcome back, everyone. We'll be moving on to A8, which is the approval of consent agenda. Are there any comments regarding consent agenda? From the public? Any from our board members? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve our consent agenda for this evening? Moved by trustee Maestas, seconded by trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Regarding consent. No,
No.
it's regarding consent, not the public presentation.
And it's in our, is there any members from our public wishing to speak on an item that's in consent? For public comments? Okay. We do have speakers on this item. No, it's fine. This is the first time this happens in consent, so,
Okay,
in a very long time, so welcome.
hi. Good evening. My name is Dahlia Estrada. I am here from Transportation at MCS. There is definitely an issue within our department concerning our field trips being contracted out. So since I have been a bus driver for MCS, we have always fought hard and long for what is right. To have a supervisor who believes he can just give away bargaining unit work is wrong and detrimental. Refer to our CSA contract Article 26, right here. Our field trips are rightfully ours as bargaining unit work, and most importantly, the bus drivers of MCS will be harmed financially by the districts violating our rights. If our field trips continue to be wrongfully contracted out, we will start picketing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item?
Hi, my name is Debbie Martinez. I represent community. I stand in solidarity with the bus drivers who are families. There are families. Our children are the first ones to see the bus drivers in the morning, and they're the last ones to say goodbye to. I don't agree with what's being done, contracting out our work that can be given to our bus drivers. We just saw the supervisor just get an award. Did he really win it? Did he really earn it? Did he ask the right questions? Did he do his very best, according to the superior of this district? We're not in agreement for them to take away the overtime since we are in a crisis economy. The economy is bad right now. The gas is bad, the food is bad, and now we're gonna take away from our bus drivers. What mindset is that gonna put for our children? So I stand as a community member asking in solidarity that you do not contract our bus drivers' work outside of what rightfully belongs to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments from community? Any comments from board members?
I have a question on consent. Just which item does it relate to? Do you know what the item number is?
I believe it's C1.
Ah, thank you. There we go. Okay. I was looking, I read too fast through it and I was like, where is that? Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Are we keeping this item or are we discussing it further?
There was no motion from any board member. Are you wanting to make
I
a
wanna
motion?
put it out there just because I think we didn't have all the details on it.
So you have two options. You could pull this item, then vote on the consent agenda as is, and then pull this into discussion.
I wanna do that. I wanna pull this item and
Do you want to pull this table this, or pull this into our main discussion?
pull this into our main discussion.
So you can put it in the first item.
Yeah.
It's a renumber. It'll be a 1A.
1A?
Well, I'll
It would
tell you
be
one second. It'll be,
B1. Okay, so I have a motion, and bear with me for a second. I have a motion to move this item, C1, into our regular discussion action items for this evening, which will be B3, a new B3.
I second.
Second. There's a second by trustee Maestas, a motion by trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will move this into our discussion item for this evening. Now, on for the rest of the consent, is there any other questions or comments on consent disregarding C1, now B3? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent with the exclusion of C1?
I move approval.
Moved by trustee Marks, seconded by trustee Irvin. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Now, this takes us to A9, approval of order of discussion and action. Do I hear a motion to approve the order of discussion of action items this evening? Again, we're adding C1 into a new B3, and all the other subsequent items will move down a number. Moved by trustee Mejia, seconded by trustee Irvin. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And so, this takes us to our period for public presentation. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting and showing your interest. I have a total of 4 cards this evening. I will call each of you up after each other. And again, you have 3 minutes to speak for a total of 30 minutes for public presentations. We ask that, when you hear the buzzer, try to finish your thought so that we can move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. And our first speaker for this evening is Debbie Martinez.
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, the Cabinet, and members of the Governing Board. My name is Debbie Martinez, and I am with We're La Raza Parents Union. I also represent community. I wear several hats within the community. Today, I come before the Governing Board because it was brought to my attention, and yes, I spoke to someone within the district, but I just want to go on record now. And that is the gifted gated program that is offered on the north side of town, and yet we do have gifted gated children that are on the south side and the west side of town. And I'm understanding that there may be some sort of a committee. I'm not quite sure. I'm outside of the loop. It was part of the pipeline that the children, the disadvantaged population, were not receiving. And so I'd like to bring that to the surface, bring that to the table. If there is a committee, I'd like to go on record and be on that committee. And that's what I needed to talk about is, once again, the programs that we need to even for all children. The equity needs to be there. So if we have gifted children on the west side, north, south side, even the east side of town, make sure that those children are getting the proper programs that they're entitled to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Kian Nazari. And he has a crew with him this evening.
I'll hold it.
Good evening, Kian.
Hello, distinguished board members and superintendent. I am Kian Nazari of Lakewood Elementary. Before I begin my presentation, let me introduce my student council. I have my president, Soleil Burns, my vice president, Evan Binfield, my secretary, Parker Gatula, our treasurer, Elijah Maestas, our social media coordinator, Sol Alberto, our mascots, Brady Jones and Reston Redfern, our athletic director, Jordan Bassi, our events coordinator, Lily Lemus. Unfortunately, our postmaster general and environmentalists were not able to be with us here today. They're here and in our hearts, though. To begin, we need to talk about how elementary school student representatives are basically non-existent. I understand we have our student representative, Dara Patel, but she mostly focuses on the high school students and not more of the elementary levels on things. Our first point is that the cafeteria food in high school has more options and other things that elementary school students do not have. In high school, they have foods that you can choose from, when in elementary school, we have the vegetarian option and the regular option. I don't think that it's fair that they get more options than us. We have the same rights as them. I don't think they're entitled to more than us. Our other point is that sports teams in elementary school are virtually non-existent. High schoolers have sports teams and middle schoolers have sports teams sometimes. But elementary school students don't really have anything to look forward as sports events. If we have more teams, it would boost morale around the school and give more excitement in looking forward to things. And also, we have many students that are very athletic and are willing to give up time to devote their passion of sports to Lakewood Elementary. I thank you for your time, and I know this is the destination district, but without representation in all the parts of this district, I don't think we can be fully our full potential. Thank you, everyone, and this is Kian Nazari signing off.
No, you can't do public comment.
I just have a question.
Our next speaker this evening is Chris Peterson. Tough act to follow.
The next time someone tells you public schools are broken, remember those kids. Remember those kids. Well done. This evening, on behalf of Modesto Teachers Association, I want to give you a brief update on our Measure L campaign. And I want to express in gratitude our deep appreciation for our mutual effort, because I think last Saturday we proved what our community can do collectively. Beautiful weather, couldn't have asked for a better morning. Great company, including Dr. Dumucci and her cabinet, trustees. I very much appreciated your time, CSEA, and of course, MTA. Initially, that plan was for 70 precincts. The turnout was so robust, we did 79 precincts. By the time the afternoon was over, our political consultant added additional 35 precincts to identify and target. We have installed all of our large signs. There's not one left. You can actually walk in our hallway now and get Scooby snacks. We used to have 1,000 lawn signs. I think I have 5 left in my minivan. If you need one, I know where to get one. And of course, our precinct walk is complete. We have 3 weeks remaining in this very important campaign. If you go to our MTI website, we might have a countdown, 21 days, 14 hours, 30-ish minutes or so. We value this and know this is very important for our students, our campuses, and for the community. The association has committed to taking care of those 35 additional precincts as much as we can. We have delivered an update to all of our members as of 12 noon today, identifying that process to get those 35 other precincts accomplished. We have a second opportunity, and that's, of course, just walking your neighborhood. And if you are crazy enough to join us, I might know a guy with some bags that have those door hangers that we delivered this past Saturday. Stretch your legs, walk the neighborhood, take your dog, with an opportunity to spread message about Measure L. If by chance everyone in the room picked one up by the time you left tonight, hint, hint, it's in the back of the room, you could take care of your own neighborhood and your precinct. What I'm encouraged by is that collectively we can accomplish anything. This Measure L is simply too important for us to pass up. We urge our community to vote yes this November the 8th for all Modesto High School students. Let's get this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker of the night is Maritza Romero.
I'm learning a little bit more about all the rhetoric. Hello, Madam Superintendent, to all the board, to all present. I would like to clarify that last time when I was here after speaking to Mr. Henderson, is Mr. Henderson present? Hi, Mr. Henderson. I'm Maritza. About the number of people. When I went into, let me backtrack a little. When I went into Human Resources to request a copy of the report of the investigation, I was told that 22 people, I said came forward, or maybe I was told they had 22 people to interview. It's very possible that I may just have had, you know, as my, I don't know, my concept or just misinterpretation. So I'm not sure. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I did not fabricate that number or just pull it out of the sky. So therefore, I'm not sure. I just wanted to clarify that. It's not my intention to, I don't know, defame anybody. But anyway, today I would like to address the dress code, which is something that I had brought up in light of, also I think it's a little bit meshed with what occurred with the investigation, that Mr. Shar told me that it's getting really hard to enforce the dress code because it's a little political with my body, my choice. But in this country, our children have the right for a free and with that education. So, and it's not just a right, it's also a privilege because many people in other countries do not have that. And therefore, I don't think that's the place for a fashion show. They're there to learn. And many times the attire causes great distraction. I know that our young people will understand because if our administrators and staff, were to dress the way some of those people do, they'd be scandalized. The way we dress commands respect. All of you administrators, I mean, that's just the way it is. And we have body language. There's many ways to communicate. And our young people need to learn, I think, that we need to convey to them that respect starts with self, right? Today, I'm dressed up a little bit more, because last time I was a little embarrassed. We had some guests, some young guests that were dressed, and I thought, oh my goodness, they were prompted to dress properly, so today I did so, and I think it was also to confirm what I'm trying to express. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that spoke this evening. Although we cannot engage in discussion or take formal action on items that are not on the agenda, we thank you for following the protocols and addressing the board and for taking time to share your views with us this evening. And now, now we'll be moving on to B1, Student Representative to the Board Report.
Thank you, President Lopez. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I know mine was filled with studying plant biology, so if you guys want to know anything about plants, I may or may not have the answers. The Inter-High Council met this past week. Bayer, Grigori, Enox, and Davis all reported that their homecoming celebrations had come to an end. They were successful, they were fun, and they had great student turnout, so that was really exciting to hear, just the different events and dress-up days that each school had. Modesto High reported that they were working on their homecoming week, which is this week, and Johansson reported that they had conducted a blood drive, which had over 60 donations, which I thought was pretty impressive. Davis, Grigori, and Modesto High were working on their fall festivals, which I believe will be in the next coming weeks and open to the public. So if anybody would like to join and have a great time at one of these schools with their fall festivals, I hear they're putting on great events, haunted houses. So that's one thing that they're working on as well. In addition to the updates from the schools, we discussed the various things that we were noticing around our campuses, such as the increased fentanyl usage and the use of video campaigns, or just spreading awareness on how to keep ourselves safe and encourage our peers to be mindful of their behavior and keep themselves safe as well. One thing that has become an especially prominent concern is the vaping in the bathrooms or at school in general. And Inter-High representatives reported that students do not feel comfortable around this behavior. But however, with the new vape detectors being installed in the bathrooms at various school sites, we hope that the results will prove better outcomes and prove better safety within our schools. I was also able to attend the Student Advisory Council meeting this past month, where students discussed where we best believe LCAP funds should be spent and how it can improve different school sites, and what programs we think could be implemented with the use of LCAP funds. So I know some students were talking about better construction for their schools, different programs like driver's ed coming back, things like that, which created a discussion full of student voice, which I thought was interesting. So with that concludes my board report.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from public or from our board? Hearing none, we'll be moving on to B2, which is California School Employee Association report. Is there a representative for CSEA this evening? Seeing none, we'll be moving on to our new B3, which is approval of authorization to award request for approval RFP number 224767, student activity transportation to additional provider via Trailways and any other provider submitting proposal that meets district school pupils activity bus SPAB criteria. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Noguchi, or we'll turn it over to Mr. Tim Surley.
Yep, I was just going to turn over to Tim Zerley, and perhaps Roger if needed.
Yeah, this request is not anything new. It's actually something we do annually. And actually, the board approved on May 16th of this year 5 charter vendors under RFP 22-4767 for student activity transportation. Tonight's action is just adding one more vendor to that list. So it is something we do annually. It's a routine action. But what we're asking you to do tonight is add one more to the pool that the board already approved back in May.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments from the public? Debbie?
Debbie Martinez from the community, and we're asking that you do not add an additional to something that has already been pre-approved. So we, the public, we, the people, we, the parents, don't want this added. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from public? Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Rudy Valderrama. I'm an employee with the Modesto City School Transportation Department. I've been with the district for 15 years now. I've seen a lot happen in this department and within this district during that time. One of the things that I know that I'm really fearful of in light of adding any more vendors is the possibility of turning over work that is completely doable by our department. If I may share the fact that being in this department for as long as I have, I've noticed that the workload in our department has reduced significantly over the course of the 15 years. When I first started with this district, we were managing 2 school districts, Modesto City Schools children as well as Stanislaus Union. And not only that, with what we had with 2 sessions of Elliott, 2 sessions of Kinder, and yet we were still able to do all of our trips without having to add any other vendors. We're sitting now with a reduced workload, but yet still having to add other vendors to the fact that we need to transport our students. And it seems like the fact that that is not getting done, it is the drivers that are being punished for that fact. When the reality, when this department was managed by 1 dispatcher, 1 supervisor, and 1 secretary, and only 1 trainer. Now we have an inflated managerial staff in our department, and yet stuff isn't getting covered or is taken care of when the workload is reduced. And now by adding more vendors, it just feels like you're pulling work away from us that we could be able to do in the past. So I just would ask that that this matter would be looked into to maybe investigate why the fact that we have less work, but yet we're adding more vendors to take more work from us. Thank you for your time.
You know, we really have 2 options. So we could move forward and do a vote on this particular item, or we could table it, bring it back to the next board meeting, and dig into some of the information that was just asked, and then also share the reasoning behind. I do know that we are, it's our interest to increase field trips for students and to be able to ensure that we've got the transportation for those students to be able to get to the field trips. Knowing that, we've also expanded out our bus schedules later in the day. And so there's lots of questions to be asked. There's a presentation that we can certainly put together. I think I'll ask Mr. Zerly, is this an item that would not impede opportunities for children if we table it and bring it back at the next board meeting? I'm seeing no. So that could be an option. So President Lopez, we could either table it or you could choose to vote on it.
Thank you very much. We have still a couple questions. We have a couple questions, Trustee Irvin. Before we get to that, I just want to make sure that we've covered public on questions or comments. Once we come back into the board, we will not be going back out. Just, nope. Okay. I have a couple of questions, and I know that there's been a motion, but I want to address questions first, and then I'll ask for a motion. Trustee Maestas was.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask some of those questions, like, why are we adding another one? What purpose is, I guess you can write these down because I feel like this is where the information we're going to need. Why are we adding more? What's the impact on our drivers already? Do we have enough to cover? And the impact on our students and their field trips, and to make sure that all of our students are covered as well, hitting all the needs of everyone that needs. So if we can get that information, I would like to also table it and get the information before we vote on anything.
Trustee Irvin?
Yeah, those are some of the questions I had that Trustee Myers just had. Also, have we run into a problem since we're adding, have we run into a problem where there's been opportunities where we may not have had the coverage for bus service? I know it was on Saturday in Fresno, we had a bus take students to Fresno and back, so I don't know what the rationale, like to know the rationale in terms of adding other vendors. Is it, it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of drivers amongst the district, or maybe there's a shortage of drivers willing to take on overtime or something like that, because I know that has become a problem as well in other districts. They said trying to get folks to do extracurricular activities after school or on the weekends, that they have a problem enticing drivers. I don't know that to be the case here, but that would be something we should look into, of adding additional vendors if we already have a pool to choose from that's viable to meet the needs of the students in our district when they need to have bus service.
Thank you very much. Trustee Mejia?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm also impromptu to tabling it as well, to have a deeper discussion, a deeper dive into some of these questions and hear a lot more perspective. And I know I sat with one of the bus drivers in one of our committees, so I really am curious to hear a little bit more of someone that has a lot of experience in this department.
Definitely. Any other questions or comments? I'm in agreement with my board members. I do think there's a lot more questions that we don't have here at the moment, but definitely we want to honor our community, our members, our public, our bus drivers, and come to a good solution. So definitely that starts with more information, right? So I'll take Trustee Irvin's motion to table. Seconded by Trustee Marks. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion is tabled unanimously. Great. That takes us to our item B4, which is report on enrollment counts for 2022, 2023 as of September 2nd, 2022. Mr. Zerly.
Yes, thank you, President Lopez. Good evening, trustees. Tonight, we are here to provide an update for the 22-23 student enrollment count as of September 2nd, 2022. You will see a grade level enrollment comparison. We'll talk about inter-district transfer requests, and then give the board an opportunity to ask any questions they may have. So this is the first year in a couple of years that we've done a formal presentation on our first month enrollment counts. And that's because how many times can we come here and tell the board or show the board that we're declining? There's only so many ways we can say we're declining. And so the last couple of years, it's been just a report put into this agenda packet. But for this year, we are celebrating, and we're celebrating the first year of a student enrollment increase since 2016, 2017. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. We have a 416 student increase from the prior year, 21-22, 186 students in grades TK through 8, and 230 students in grades 9 through 12. Since the first day Dr. Noguchi has stepped foot in our district, she's been asking about data around our inter-district transfer requests. And what an inter-district transfer request is, it's a request either from a family outside of our district to come to Modesto City Schools, or it's a request for our families inside our attendance boundaries to go to another schools. Predominantly Ceres, Sylvan, those are the ones that are big in our students transferring out to. And so what this shows us, last year, we had 226 families request to come in, 417 families request to leave our district to go to a neighboring district. So that gives us what we call a net deficit of 191 students. Those that, when you compare those that choose to come in versus those that choose to leave our district. For this year, we see an improvement And we have 249 families requesting to come in. That's an increase of 23. And we have 362 families requesting to leave. So that decrease is actually an increase of 55 students for us. And the net deficit went from 191 to 113. That's a 78 student increase year over year. And so again, that is something we, since the first year Dr. Noguchi came in, we started talking about a destination district, and that means what can we do not only to keep our families, but to attract other families that want to come to Modesto City Schools to be educated. And so here's a list of some areas that we believe, just real quickly, we're positive for our changes in enrollment from year over year. And I'll invite my colleagues to add in if I do not do a good enough job in representing their areas. But one of those is a full day TK and K program. So now our kindergarten families, know they have the security to know that their transitional kindergartner or their kindergartner is dropped off in the morning and will be taken care of all day instead of the half-day programs that we had a few years ago. We've expanded our transitional kindergarten to almost every school in the district has a transitional kindergarten program now. Before and after school program inspection. There is, we take anyone that wants to come. Anyone that wants to sign up and come to our before and after school programs, we take them. Building and expanding alternative programs to meet our student needs. Robust expansion of our alternative program offerings. Again, what can we do to keep our students here? Keep them instead of transferring to another agency or another district. A big one was Tuolumne TK8 configuration. Tuolumne used to be TK6. It is now TK8, adding the STEM Academy. So we've given the opportunity for our junior high Tuolumne families to stay at that school now through 8th grade instead of having to go on the bus and go to Hanshaw. They get to stay there through 8th grade, be part of that school, be part of that community, which is what we thought. We may have been losing some from that area to Ceres, which has an elementary and a junior high close by. So now we're offering that to our families. Dual language grade expansion now goes through TK 8th grade and Modesto Virtual Academy. It's an independent study. So our families have an option still. We have an independent study program now through Modesto Virtual Academy. It keeps students here, just another program for our students to have. Next steps that we think can continue our enrollment stabilization is continue our robust professional development offerings to continue to increase academic performance of our students. AB and IB programming is college-level academic coursework. We're proud of that. We're proud to offer that, and we think that's attractive to get families to stay here and come here. Evaluating future CTE expansion options. How can we further make our students ready for the workforce upon graduation? What offerings through CTE can we offer them to make them either career ready once they're graduating our high schools? Customer service emphasis throughout the district. That's been another high priority area from Dr. Noguchi, and is something that we're proud of. Every area throughout the districts focuses on customer service for our students and our families. Continue to provide before and after school offerings for all students, expanding our parent ambassador program, marketing our programs, both new and existing, increased dual enrollment opportunities with Modesto Junior College, and as mentioned earlier, our new partnership with UC Merced. And with that, we're open to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. I'll go out to the public. Any questions or comments? Debbie?
Debbie Martinez, La Raza Parents Union. I just have two things. The TK through 8th grade over at Tuolumne, to keep them in that site so that they don't have to go over to Hanshaw. Hanshaw. It's kind of alarming because I remember in this room where we fought against the fifth year for the high school because it was concerning about 21-year-olds in the high school. I'm concerned with this 8th grade level because of what happened to our little guy over at Burbank, and that stopped at 6th grade. What would possibly happen if we have 8th graders with our little guys? That's something to think about. This is alarming. And I just want to bring it to the surface that I hope and pray that our children are safe over at Tuolumne, since they did not get that same over at Burbank. I'm just going to put that out there. Another thing is, perhaps maybe I can come and run your parent ambassador program. Something that I can entertain. If you guys are willing to have me on board, I'm willing. But anyhow, customer service, Dr. Noguchi, I have 25 years of, so I see it out there. So I'll let you know, I see it. But then there's still some that need some improvement. That's why when I see it, I call it. It's not that I'm trying to be bad. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I just come from customer service, so I'm with you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from our public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any questions? I have a couple of names up here. Vice President Brown.
Yes, Mr. Zerly, you mentioned that in the past we've seen an exodus, or not, I'm sure we have students coming both directions between Sylvan and Modesto City Schools, and also between Ceres and Modesto City Schools. So with these improved numbers, do we have any indication of what's happened? Do we have improvement in those two exit points?
We have an overall improvement in both. Overall improvement in both.
Very much. Trustee Marks?
Yeah, these numbers are really encouraging after watching decline. I was really pleased to see this year the increase in students, and not just a handful, 400 of them. That was so great. So I know when I came in the district, there was 30,000 students, and then we dropped down to 30,000. I was like, oh, where are we going from here? But it's really great. So I know that we've become a destination district when I see the numbers improving. So I did have a question on Downey. I noticed that Downey had 153 more students this year than last year. Do we know that was the highest increase in all of the numbers? So I was just really amazed at that. So do we know what happened to Downey that brought in 153 students? Because all the other ones were like 24, 38, 36. We had a couple drops, Davis and Bayer.
Trustee Marks, we can put together more communication. We'd have to dig in to figure out, is
okay.
that a fifth year? Some students did do a fifth year, and I don't know if that's counted in here, but we can take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, I just thought there was something
Just
that
overall
happened
high
at
school.
Downey that was like, wow, this is why we want to be at Downey. So it was just wow, I didn't know what happened. So, okay, that'd be great. That was my only question.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Again, great job. I mean, it's as mentioned, since day one, has been a conversation that we've had multiple times of, what are we providing for our students and how can we keep our community in our community, right? So I appreciate everyone's work. And with that, we'll be moving on to our next item, which is B5, which is the public hearing and approval for resolution 2023-06 to approve design builder agreement with Southland Energy HVAC and plumbing retrofitting improvements project. Mr. Zerly, and before we get into that, I will now close the regular open board meeting, and I'll reconvene us as a public hearing for agenda B5 and hand it over to Mr. Zerly.
Thank you, President Lopez. Good evening again. On May 15th of 22, the board approved a service agreement with Southland Energy to develop an HVAC energy efficiency and plumbing replacement project. Chapter 3.2 of Government Code 4217.10 through 4217.18 allows a public agency to enter into an energy service contract that the governing body determines is in the best interest of the public agency without a competitive process. Part of that is an analysis that is included that that shows that the anticipated cost to the district for electrical energy provided by the project will be less than the anticipated marginal cost to the district of electrical energy that would have been consumed by the district in the absence of these improvements. And so it is recommended that the Board of Education, following this public hearing, to receive public comments, approve resolution number 23-06 to approve a design builder agreement with Southland Energy for HVAC and plumbing retrofit improvement projects. This will replace 64 units across several schools, as well as plumbing fixtures through AB 841, the CalShape program.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from our public? Hearing none, is there any questions from our board members? I have one from Trustee Marks.
Yes, I had a couple of questions on this. So you said we did 64 units. Did we replace a lot of our HVACs a few years ago? I thought we were redoing them a couple years ago.
The only replacement right now is the Johansson, the complete replacement at Johansson High School. What we did a couple years ago with the initial COVID funds is replace our controls at each school to better control the units, to give us better control of the units, access. But this is our first actual physical unit replacement outside of Johansson High School that we're doing on a district-wide level.
Okay, because I remembered Mark Twain getting a
We've
new-
done Sonoma, we've done, I mean,
Okay, a few of them.
there's others that we've done, but this is the first one that
District-wide.
we're going across the district. And we're starting with, we have what's called the hot list of units that are either age-related or issue-related. And so we're starting at the bottom and working our way up of those hot list unit items.
Okay, and this will help with some of the drinking fountains and all the things that have gotten really old over the years? Is that going to be replaced?
Yeah, the AB 841 is plumbing fixtures,
Okay.
which includes fountains, plumbing, toilets, urinals, and things like that.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, and I was looking at this when I first read it, I thought, oh, this is for energy savings. And then I looked at the savings and I was like, wait, this can't be for energy savings because it's not as much as we've had in the past. It's going to save $20,000 in 1 year. But considering, I just was looking at the cost. And so I was trying to understand what all it encompassed. So it was a much.
Typically, we don't see a large savings in mechanical replacement.
Right.
So when we replace, I mean, now, yes, now the units are more energy efficient than they were 20, 25 years ago. That's obvious. But there's just not a huge, it's not like our lighting retrofit that we
Right.
did when we changed to a different lighting fixture. So there is some, and which is why we chose this delivery method under Government Code 4217 to deliver the project.
Okay, those are my questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and reconvene the regular board meeting. And we're looking to, I'm looking for a motion to approve the public hearing and approval of Resolution 22/23 -06 to approve design builder agreement with Sunland Energy for HVAC and plumbing retrofit improvements project. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Trustee Mejia, seconded by? You motion?
No, it's okay.
Sorry. We have a motion by Trustee Marks and a second by Trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing that, motion passes unanimously. And this takes us to our next item, B5, which is also a public hearing and approval for Resolution 23-24/07, sorry, 22/23-07 to improve design builder agreement with Johnson Control, Inc. and for HVAC improvement. This again is Mr. Surley, so I'll now close the regular board meeting and reconvene us into public hearing.
Yes, thank you, President Lopez. This is a companion item, and so what we've done is we've taken the work and divided it up into two different groupings. We think that's a better way to deliver the improvements. Same as the last one. This particular public hearing has attached data showing that the cost to the district for electrical energy provided by this project is less than the anticipated cost to the district that would have been consumed without these improvements. This particular contractor is being awarded 85 units to be replaced across 3 districts. That would be Modesto High School, or across 3 schools, Modesto High School, Henshaw Middle School, and Elliott Alternative Education Center. Again, it's 85 of our oldest, most troublesome units that will be replaced with brand-new, energy-efficient mechanical equipment.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from public?
Debbie Martinez, Community. I do have one question, Tim. I remember, I think it was, is Rich, you were still principal at that time. And the gym, there was AC problems in the gym. Do you remember that? I just want to know, was that corrected? Because back then it was pretty unbearable,
Well,
that gym.
at the time, we did not have air conditioning in the gym.
Yeah,
Since
so-
then, it has been added.
Since then? Okay.
Yeah, 5 years ago, we added air conditioning.
Awesome.
At all of our high school.
Okay.
Main gymnasiums.
Nice. That one just came to mind at that time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from our board members? Hearing none, I will now close public hearing and reconvene us into regular board meeting. And we're looking for a motion for approval of resolution 22-23-07 to approve design builder agreement with Johnson Control Inc. for HVAC improvements project. And this, I believe, it's motion by trustee Mejia, seconded by trustee West. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mrs. Early. And this takes us to our B7, which is a report on 2021-2022 Teacher Perspective Program, and this is Mr. Herbst.
All right, well, good evening, Board President Lopez, trustees, Superintendent Noguchi, cabinet colleagues, and guests. It was in 2018 the district began contracting with Dr. Jason Okonefor, back then to provide recommendations regarding our disciplinary practices. One key recommendation was the implementation of the Teacher Perspective Program using Mindset Solutions bidirectional surveys. Tonight, Dr. Okonefor is here to share the results of the surveys that were given during the 21-22 school year, as well as talk about next steps and address any questions. So please, Dr. Okonefor.
Yes, thank you. That somehow just reminded me, I've been working with you all as long as my daughter's been alive. That's literally how long this has been happening. And I'm happy to report where we are. I'm gonna jump right in there for the sake of you all's time. Looks like you still have quite an agenda ahead of you. So participation was very good. And so where we are with the TPP program was that the idea was to roll this out over the course of 4 sessions, over the course of 2 years, and see the extent to which this type of approach can have some meaningful improvements in both teachers' mindsets and students' reception of teachers' mindsets. As you may remember, back in 2018, we ran a large randomized controlled trial that let us know that it was very promising as it pertains specifically to suspension rates, the actual outcome of interest. Since then, since we were aware of that, we haven't been directly looking at the administrative records, but rather have been looking at the mindsets that correlated with those changes in these suspension rates. And so, to jump in there, participation was pretty good. As you may know, there were different approaches that were taken across the 2 years. In the first year, it was very much, I believe, voluntary, whereas last year, it was more so everyone needed to do this, and so you can notice those differences. Here is to orient you to it, what you're saying is that 83 teachers participated in all 4 of the sessions, meaning they volunteered to participate in the first session and went through all of them. However, as you're also seeing, a little over 1,000 teachers total participating in at least one session. So we have some pretty good data to work with. And so just really quickly going to touch on some more of the qualitative components of what we saw in this programming. And so these are direct quotations from teachers here in MCS. And so everyone experiences emotions differently based upon their life experiences. Just because I see things differently does not always make me right. Students need to feel validated. And so this is what I'm going to be showing you are different ways that teachers have expressed the mindset that we were hoping that they would adopt or endorse. And so here's another one. If you make a connection with your students, they are much more likely to do well in your class. They will do the work for you as opposed to just because they're supposed to. In order to create a connection, you need to be engaging and friendly and care about them as people, not just about the subject. There's a number of these, and I'll tell you, it was difficult to go through them because there were a lot of different ways that teachers were making sense of this work and committing to doing this with their students. And so this one's a little bit longer, but I did want to share this because it's more practical, less abstract. And so be firm with your classroom management, but don't always jump to conclusions with a student when they do something bad. Sometimes they are having a bad day. Most of the time, it's helpful to ask them to stay after class to have a short discussion about their behavior. Giving the students an opportunity to explain themselves and provide appropriate consequences is often all that is needed to earn that student's respect. Also, just show them you care by asking them about their other classes, their favorite foods, books, movies, music, sports. And so the type of approach we've taken here has been an iterative process where we take really meaningful quotations like these and we share them back to other teachers in the district for best practices, not just from some scientist over at Berkeley or some person coming in to lecture them, but rather as their fellow teachers in their own words, working with the students in their same district. And so something else that's pretty promising, something that we're able to look at now is how effective was this approach based on how many sessions teachers completed. And so what you're seeing here is that the more sessions that a teacher completed of this program, the less punitive they were towards a hypothetical Black student who was misbehaving. This hypothetical scenario is one that we commonly use as a measurement of consequences of implicit or explicit bias. And so this is very happy to see and show that there was this type of reduction. And also, we looked at authoritarianism. And so this comes from research on parenting. Without going too far into it, the main takeaway here is that the two extremes of the spectrum, I would say, is authoritarian and authoritative. I don't know why they decided to name them pretty much the same thing. In both cases, it involves a parent being strict. However, when it's authoritative, there's a warmth to that strictness. And when it's authoritarian, there's a coldness to that strictness. And so what we wanted to measure is authoritarianism in the sense that that might be an indicator of punitiveness, but we're getting at it in a different way. And what we're seeing is that there was a reduction in that as well based upon how many sessions a teacher had completed. And so a very, I think, cool thing about this process is that aspect where we can take a pulse on what the students are feeling in response to what the teachers are participating in. We got pretty good participation, as you see there. We only surveyed cohorts of students to get a snapshot of those, what's going on at those different levels. Wouldn't worry too much about the colors and everything that go on here. But what I do want to point out here is that if you look at the, well, first of all, what order it is. I'll start. For the relationships, the graphs that are along the right side there, what you're seeing is that for elementary school students or the 5th graders, for middle school students or the 7th graders, they feel better relationships with their teachers. They're reporting pretty good quality relationships with their teachers. And while that's not horrible at 10th grade, it is a significant reduction at that point. Which I wanted to point out because I am a scientist, and while I hope to fix and help and support all things great. There's still room and opportunity for improvement, and I would direct that to the extent possible at that high school level. I will tell you that we're not thinking about something that would be specific to Modesto, like you all are doing something wrong. Rather, this is a national thing in a way that we understand development. That's also when a lot of dropouts are happening in the trajectory of adolescence. A lot of things are going on there, but I did want to point it out as an opportunity because we don't always have surveys that can tell us what they're feeling and we can compare them to one another. Another thing from these graphs that's not reflected because this one is organized by gender was English learners as opposed to English only students reported higher acceptance, connection, and relationships. I would like to say, and I'm gonna say, and then I'll tell you the disclaimer, that's one of the things that I was brought in to look at specifically. And so I would love to say, well, we knocked it out the park. Everything's great. While the numbers indicate that, it would be irresponsible of me to not also say that due to the fact that they are English learners, there may be a cultural difference in how they respond to survey questions, such that they may be less open to saying something negative about the school or community that they're in, which is consistent with a more interdependent culture, which I would say most English learners would be coming from, more interdependent cultures than independent cultures. And so a lot of dependency on the community, and one wouldn't want to say bad things about the community. Yeah, so I would just say, take that with caution. I'm forgetting what the political way they put it, cautious optimism or optimistic caution, something. But I wanted to point that out. But the big thing I wanted to get to today, the very promising thing, is that when we look at the 5th grade students, specifically them and not the others, because in middle school and high school, as you know, students have multiple teachers, but the 5th grade students only have one teacher, and so we're able to do this type of analysis. And this is looking at, based on the number of sessions that a student's teacher completed, how do that teacher's students feel? And what you're seeing is that across the board here, the more that teachers engage with these type of materials, it translated. Students felt better about those classrooms. They felt better about their school days. And I'm a numbers guy. I'm particularly excited about this, and I shared this last week. I was the keynote speaker for the PBIS California conference for all PBIS across the state and surrounding areas. And I pointed out MCS, I hope y'all didn't mind, but as a model of because as I've been working with Mark, PBIS was rolling out here in MCS this whole time, and that there was strategic integration of approaches, and that I wouldn't want to take credit for any and all things that have turned out great, because this is a part of a number of things that you all have been working on. As you know, I've been reviewing not just this work, but also other things that are taking place. And I honestly can say to you that this is inspiring. And so just quickly pointing out some of the things that I noticed where there seems to be strategic integration of processes, or definitely opportunities to get into that. At the district and community level, forgive me if I forget the exact terms, but there's an intervention specialist that's working with improving relationships between parents and the school sites. That type of work to bolster those relationships goes hand in hand with a more empathic mindset from the teachers. To be clear, I don't think it was ever the case that the blame was supposed to just fall on teachers, like these teachers are bad and they need to be fixed, but rather that was an opportunity point, that teachers are the ones in the classroom, and so if we were to do something, they are in a position to do it. And so it can't just be them. And so there's work being put in place. I'm just telling you all what you're already doing, but I'm placing it in the context of the strategic integration. Also at the district and community-wide, the professional development that sounds like it's being put in place sounds great. The professor at CSU Santa Barbara, I believe Dr. Rios, doing trainings quarterly. And a key component of that is about developing empathy, in that case, namely for low socioeconomic, students from low socioeconomic status households, that's consistent. These things go together. It's not like just shooting in a bear. That's a bad example. I'm sorry, it's late. It's a strategic integration that I'm really impressed by. But then on the student involvement part, I was happy to be here. As I've said, I have a small 5-year-old, and I wish that she was here to see the student voice that happened here tonight. I hope that she develops that type of language in 2 years. I don't know, but just so that they felt comfortable coming here and expressing themselves in a very well manner, but then also the structures that are in place. I think there's an equity and excellence, or excellence and equity committee, where there's 4 representatives of students who can speak on all things that have to do with equity in the district. That's as student voice as one can get, but of course, that's not all that is comes with this strategic integration that has stood out to me. It's also I'm sorry, I can't remember all the names, but there's another program where I believe there's 4 representatives from each school that come together to communicate action that they would like to see in the district. If I open my laptop, I'd be able to find it. But there's that. Student advisory board, that's it, thank you. And then also that there's being work put into place so that there's surveying done with all students. And so in this work, we worked with subsets of students. And something that I heard the young man said is that it's really good stuff. That yeah, you just love to see it. About representation, and that like there could be some voices that are being lost. Well, if there's surveys going out to all of the students, that sounds like it's already going to be taken care of. So all this to say, great work to you all. We look forward to continuing to work with you all. We've used this work as a model in how we are working with a number of districts now. I'll be meeting with the leads of PBIS this Wednesday as follow-up from the discussions last week, and we're looking to, it sounds like this may expand, forgive me if I say this incorrectly, across Stanislaus County and then Placer County to start a national campaign on how to strategically integrate empathic mindset approaches with more structural PBIS type of approaches. And so I'll stop there. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions or hear any comments that you have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go out to the public. Is there any questions or comments? Debbie?
Debbie Martinez, with Advocate for Justice. I am part of their team, along with California Legal Rule Associations. I sit on their board. So I'm going to wear those 2 hats with you, Dr. O. First of all, I want to thank you. Music to my ears. I would be the reason why you're here. There has been somewhat of some change. It's like watching wet paint dry in Alaska. But here at the district, I can honestly say that there is improvement, that I can stand before this governing board and say that I have seen somewhat of collaborating, trying to bring back the community, the parents, under the Every Student Succeed Act, under the LCAP. I mean, that's all laws. But at the same token, as a parent advocate, I sit with parents at the school sites. Thank you, Mark, for being there when I need you. Thank you, Tim. I don't know where he went, but wherever Tim is, thank you. Brad, Dr. Noguchi, because my voice is getting heard for the families, Dr. O, but not fast enough. Downey, the very school that we deemed, is still conducting themselves as a school-to-prison pipeline. Our disadvantaged population of our colored children, more of the brown, are not getting their fair share. It's still a school-to-prison pipeline, and I'm going to go on record with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other community member wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board, and I have Trustee Irvin.
Before I ask my question, how did my name get spelled wrong now? That's my first question. My question for Dr. O. So, what point are we at in the visualization of a pinnacle? Where would we be at? Are we at the promising level, or are we at the plateau? Well, I guess we wouldn't be at the plateau yet. Where are we in that? I'm trying to visualize it. Use an analogy to do it. But where are we at with where would you say we're at right now?
I'll qualify my response first by saying that since I first started coming here, a lot of things, I'm now the president of a National Center for Youth Law, and I see cases nationally, federal consent decrees, from very large school districts and very small ones. There's been a lot of, I wanted to say that because I didn't want it to just sound like everything's great. Relatively, I would definitely place this in the promising level, but I hope that's not taken as bad news, but rather as that's foundational. That's what's needed. Absolutely, that has to happen first for it to be promising before it can be excelling. And so I know this is public, so I'm not going to call out specific districts that I've been working with where it's not the case that it's promising. I'll
Right.
I did, but now I'm surrounded by them, and
Right.
I've
And so
been
that's
told to not.
right, and that's where I just wanted to get a kind of a visualization where we are, so people can say, okay, we all know where we were, and so to get to this level of being, promising, and then being able to tangibly see that, to give, our community and folks in the district an idea of where we're headed, and so, and that's just what I wanted to just gain a visual view of where we at, for that. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. Trustee Maestas?
Thank you. And just to Trustee Urban's point here, we're always looking to grow. So I know that there's been growth. We've got room to grow, right? Obviously. And I guess that's to Deb's point as well. My question, I guess it's not much of a question, but a wonder. I like to do notice and wonders a lot. If you guys are familiar with that, I notice and wonder. So I notice something and now I wonder. So I'm looking specifically at at your density graphs here with the fifth, 7th, and 10th graders with gender as the separate variable for these acceptance, connection, and relationships.
I'm listening. Sorry.
All right, you're gonna go grab that so you can see what I'm talking about. Perfect. So the skewness in the connection and relationships, that is a really great sign, right? We're seeing very positive responses with students' connection to the teacher and their relationships with the teacher. That's building a lot of positive culture within those classes. My wonder is why acceptance is still not moving. Not even not moving, but if you look at 5th, 7th, and 10th, besides the movement in 7th grade males, it's pretty stagnant in, I don't know how negative those responses are because I don't know what the scale is on the bottom, but if I see any room to grow, it's in acceptance, and I wonder what it is that students aren't feeling positive acceptance by their teachers.
It's up there now. So yes, what you noticed, I'm glad you did. That's absolutely what we're seeing here. The thing that I would orient us to is that on the previous slide, it's not their acceptance of teachers. It's their feeling of acceptance by other students. And so that's a peer-to-peer thing that seems to be stagnant here. And so while this approach that looks at that's structured such that a shift in a teacher's mindset can lead students to feel more of a connection, for example, with the entire classroom. Yes, so it looks like that's work that's being done. On the acceptance, hypothetically or in theory, I would have hoped for or imagined, and there's a reason why we measured it, that would lead to students having better interactions with each other. When I see this, and it's counter to a hypothesis that I would have, we would need to do follow-up work to find out what is going on. And so as science, I don't want to speculate, I'll tell you that what you're noticing is a real effect that does look different, especially for the girls. For the female presenting students in the district, that is something to consider and think about. And hopefully the type of strategic integration that's happening can lean into the peer-to-peer component or aspect. But then also I would point out that the past 2 years there was a pandemic, and in and of itself, that could have had some effects on how students felt about each other. But that too, I don't have empirical evidence of that.
Right, so follow up really on that now that I know the question. So my next wonder to follow up on that is, what programs are out there, or what evidence or things do we have out there that could help us grow and move into a place where students do feel accepted? Because it sounds like I had my thought that it was something going on with teacher-student relationships, but now that it's peer-to-peer, that seems like more of a cultural, like a school culture or a classroom culture, or students interacting with one another, how they feel accepted within that class, within those peer-to-peer relationships. And so this is just a question, it's not to go out and try to find the answer right away. Who's doing it right? Like, where do we see good things happening in those, where we can start to put in some of these, where we can be strategic and integrate programs where we know helps students in their peer-to-peer relationships?
I think these are keen observations. I think that you're spot on. I will offer that if it's all right with the board, I will follow up with Mark with what I find. I will admit that with colleagues and scientists in other states, we gave a presentation on a panel to the U.S. Department of Education, and this is what they wanted us to figure out. This is what they wanted. They were like, this is the focus. This is what is happening in our schools across the country right now. The peer-to-peer aspect, harassing, bullying, so just for right now, but I am going to follow with Mark. From what I gathered in that panel and what I presented, has to do with where we are as a society right now and how people are treating each other and resorting to silos and characterizing each other. So those are hypotheses. I want to be clear. I don't have empirical evidence that that is what's happening, or more specifically that that's what's happening here. But I am actively looking for what can be done and where, exactly like you said, somewhere it has to be working out. Where is that, and what are they doing, and how did they get there? So that their peers, that their students are feeling more acceptance from one another. We share that interest.
Thank you very much. Vice President Brown?
Yes, on this series of charts, I need some help. Can you tell me what the access points are on the bottom? And what do we see? I see the high points, but I don't understand what's to the left or to the right of those high points.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. The scale is 1 to 7. And so, yeah, there's a lot here. There's 9 different graphs. Each graph, the horizontal axis is 1 to 7, with 1 being like they don't feel acceptance, to 7, which would be all the way on the right, in which they do feel acceptance. And then the y-axis, or the vertical axis, how high those bars are, is what percentage of the students felt that way. And so if we were to look at the top left, the fact that it's high at what looks like about 3 means that that's where like the average is. Most of the boys are at a 3 there, that they're saying that they are not feeling that sense of acceptance on a scale of 1 to 7. The purple is where there's overlap due to gender, and where you see solely red or blue is how we can understand the difference there. And so if we continue to look at that top left one, that's telling us that or actually it's even cleaner, the one under it. So if we look all the way to the left and in the middle, that's a pretty clear indication that there's a gender effect. The boys are more so, their density more so on the right, and the girls more so on the left, meaning the boys are feeling less unaccepted than the girls are. That was a lot. I don't know if that made sense, but it's going back to, it's the area under the slope, the area under the line that's of interest in these, and that's it. Just like, where's the peak in this tells us generally how students are feeling, but we do it
what
this way.
happens
So
at the
all
far
students
right when it's a flat line at the bottom?
So it's what you might be imagining. It's bad. That means pretty much no one reported feeling accepted. That's what that means.
And so what is the far right?
So it depends on which column it is. So for all the
let's
way to the
go-
left,
Let's
that's
go the left-hand side all the way at the bottom. What's happening in that area where it flatlines on the bottom? So who is that? And
oh yeah, it's a screen. Oh wait, that did work. So we're talking about this right here.
yeah,
That's showing that the 10th grade students who we were treating as representative of the high schools in MCS, on average, do not feel a sense of acceptance, and that's especially the case with girls.
yeah, I'm really confused.
This now, but what we can do is ask Mark to work with Dr. Quantified to be able to explain some of these graphs, and we can put it in a board communication, and then you and I can have a conversation about what it means, and I'll make sure I understand how to decipher it.
Excellent.
Can
And
you do that?
the report
Because
that
that's
we
9 different
provided.
graphs up there.
I'm
So
sorry?
there's 9 different graphs up there. So
That's true. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's in the report that we've provided, much longer. There's more of a description of how to interpret this type of graph. But that, in addition to that, I'm happy to do what I can. I don't like to leave things unresolved, so I'll really quickly try one other thing. There's really only 2 slopes in these graphs, a red one and a blue one. And anything that's purple is just where they're overlapping. So really, it's where's the blue, where's the red? If it's all purple, that means boys and girls are agreeing. If you see slithers of red or blue, that means the boys and girls are not agreeing. And the higher that point on the curve, that's where your average is. And with all due respect, that's like a whole statistics course that's just, it's not you. It's, yeah.
I think this speaks to how long ago I took statistics.
Trustee West?
I don't think our student representative's light is working, but she wants to be in queue, please. Okay. First of all, thank you for all of your hard work, and thank you for the positive things that we're hearing. We do have a ways to go, but it's nice to know that we're on the right track. I'm a retired school counselor, 25 years with middle school students. So what I saw in my course of 25 years was with acceptance with students, you ask, where can we go where it's more positive, where we can find more positive relationships between the students, the acceptance, a place where they don't have social media, because I think that's really, really a big part of why students are not feeling accepted by their peers. Just my opinion on that. And then my question, my wonder is, we started in 2018. How did COVID affect these statistics and the information that we have, do you feel it was a big difference with COVID, or how do you think COVID affected some of the data that we're seeing?
So, yeah, I would like to be able to answer that. But unfortunately, the first step that we took was before COVID, and everything we're looking at right now is during COVID. That was just how the 2 years were split. And so it wouldn't be appropriate or accurate to compare them because the structure of what we were testing was different. However, beyond the scientific aspects and admittedly speculation, I think what we saw was that teachers played a critical role during this. If in any way that students still felt connection and relationship, that, I mean, it's not just the teachers, of course, but they're the ones that, because with all the stuff that was going on and hybrid learning, and there was a lot, and there still is a lot of room for things to go wrong. I think what we are seeing is that the teachers stepped up and somehow were able to communicate warmth through virtual settings and keep the entire classrooms feeling like they were a part of something. That's what I would speculate, admittedly.
Board Rep Patel?
I just wanted to thank you for the very informative presentation. I wasn't really aware of any of this before this presentation. So I think it's really interesting that our teachers are being taught to be able to empathize with students and learn where they're coming from, knowing that not everybody has the same background. I just have a couple of questions about specifically the teacher sessions that they are put into. So as more teachers are put into more sessions, or they participate in more sessions, I don't know if you would have specific statistics on this, or maybe anyone else here, but have their disciplinary rates in their specific classrooms gone down, and what are students' outlooks on this? Are there surveys being conducted to see what students' outlooks are on disciplinary rates going down in their classrooms? Are there positive reactions or negative reactions? I was just wondering about that.
You're a student?
Yes.
Wait. You like UC Berkeley? Does that sound like a nice? Don't look at this. No, and I don't mean to. No, the great questions. And so it will take a while, but what I can offer is, so in the early years of this work, we ran an experiment similar to how we determine if a vaccine is going to work or not, looking at treatment versus a control that just didn't matter, or it wouldn't have an effect. And we knew that, like a placebo. And based on that, teachers participating in 2 sessions within 1 school year, one example is that reduced elementary students' suspension rates by 30% across the 11 schools where that happened. And so that's where the connection comes with the actual outcome of interest, who's being removed from the classroom, who has access to the classroom, things of that nature. We also surveyed students in that experiment, and forgive me, it's been some years, but I'm remembering felt respect being something that was that lit up, both at the elementary level, but actually even more so at the middle and high school level, that when teachers had engaged with these materials, students felt more respected in their relationships with the teachers, which is them reporting it, it's them saying how they feel. There could be a difference in subjectivity and objectivity. When we self-report, there can be errors, but that leads us to believe that it is affecting or leading to better outcomes. There is a really good question, because there's a lot of, not just me, other scientists have looked at added value and things of that nature. When a student is removed from the classroom, how does that affect the other students in the classroom? Or if that student isn't removed from the classroom, how does that affect all the other students in the classroom? And where the research is now, it's interestingly showing that when students are removed from the class, all of the students are suffering, which is counterintuitive. And we still have more work to do to figure out exactly how or why that's the case, because that goes counter to the objective of disciplinary action that is meant to remove a disruption to the classroom learning environment so that all the other students can indeed learn and grow. That's where we are in the scientific community right now. I know that didn't fully answer your question, but great question, and you can feel free to reach out to me. I'll write you a long email with citations and everything. Yep.
Thank you. And then a general question. If this is something that's not already being implemented, like surveys towards teachers or classrooms that have teachers with more than a couple of sessions and lower disciplinary rates, just surveys for students to be able to kind of give feedback, either positively or negatively, their engagement in the classroom with their peers. Just was wondering if that's a possibility to be implemented.
Anything that so that gets at a very real logistics question. Anything that needs to happen at the student level becomes a lot more expensive and takes a lot more legwork because there's way more students than there are teachers. There's more teachers than there are principals, which was a reason why our entry point was with teachers, because we could be efficient in our approach. And so while I agree with you, the more we can find out what students are thinking and how it's changing the way that they're developing and their mindsets are developing, the better. But the approach that we've taken is like taking subsets and seeing what's going on with them. And that, your question right now is the reason why I'm happy to see that there are efforts in place so that all students are being surveyed regularly. Well, not all the time regularly, but just on a consistent basis to find out more about those type of things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marks?
This was great. I've been here and watched all of this unfold over these last few years, and it's very hopeful. I had hope when you came, and I still have hope that the teachers and students, that we're all teachable, that everyone is teachable. And just to see the change over a significant amount of time, I think really has touched me. And as I look at just society in general and where we are and the concerns that we all have, that seeing that as we learn how to be empathetic towards one another and as we ask questions and try to understand where each other is coming from, that we can at least learn to accept one another. And I'm hoping that that one will change in the next, as our teachers work with the students and as they learn to accept each other. And then looking at the connectivity and what was the other connectivity and relationships. Those, because those were so much higher and better than the others, it just made me recognize that the teachers had made a great effort in helping their students feel more connected, that they did have relationships, that they weren't isolated. And even though with one another they still have that animosity, I'm going to call it animosity, and lack of understanding, that I'm hoping that they will learn from their teachers still in the future to be those students of character. So as you look around this room, there's 9 character traits in our school district, and we used to spend a month on each one of the character traits and at the school site to help teach our students how to be respectful, take initiative, be loyal, be compassionate, have courage, and especially standing up for the most weak and the most vulnerable in their peer groups. And I think that's something that I think just our whole society has lost. We're so busy fighting each other that we have lost our sense of understanding and asking those questions of where you're coming from. So just seeing this, though, even though I get discouraged at times, this gives me hope that our future generations can do better. Sorry, it just makes me emotional because I've watched a whole generation of students grow up in the school district. And we never talked about these things a long time ago, and now we are. And I think there's hope in that. And when we no school districts talked about suspension rates or expulsion rates, we used to hide them. We used to say we're not talking about those things because no one wanted to admit. Look at the students that were expelling. Look at the students that were suspending. Look at their ethnicity. Nobody wanted to talk about that. We were one of the first districts that ever decided to talk about that and make changes. And even though our changes aren't fast, and even though they aren't as quick as we'd all like them to be, we're still making them. And I think we are making some progress. So thank you so much for your time and effort and for making this a lifelong mission of yours. I mean, this is your life mission. And I just appreciate that. And so I didn't have any questions, but I did want to make a comment. So thank you for
I appreciate
listening.
it. I appreciate being able to take this journey with you all, as I also come into parenting, and appreciate school so much more, especially with
And a lot goes into it.
the pandemic. But I'm glad you said that, because I now do a lot of work with juvenile detention centers, and it's a lot of like when things are already really bad and it's already on a path that it's going to take a lot of work to turn around. And yes, we go back and look at the actual question that students were answering.
Oh.
At my school, there is an adult who really cares about me. Not just this adult who knows my name or an adult who teaches me math, that they had an adult and that they were reporting this in 2020, 2021. Does feel good.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I did have a question. During your presentation, you mentioned a caveat on EL students. You mind repeating that?
Sure. It's common in the, at least the scientific understanding that language barriers come out in survey responses. And it's not just a language barrier, it's also a cultural one. And so on the language barriers aspect of it, if someone is learning the language, then some words, like just practically, some words might seem different or be gauged different or understood differently, and that can play out in then how they respond to that survey. But then also culturally, specifically students that would be from more interdependent cultures, meaning that there's more of a championing of living like a village, living as a community, living beyond oneself. That student would be more hesitant to say that their community or their school or the people around them were anything negative. And so those are just things that just should be understood going into it. And that I wanted to say that because we do see that EL students are reporting higher on all of these socio-emotional type of questions than other students. And that could mean that they are feeling relatively better than the other students. It could mean that their goalpost is different based on culture, that their expectations are different based on culture, but then also their willingness to honestly say that something's wrong could be different. It's likely a combination of these things.
Thank you. The reason why I asked is that last part is how do we try to minimize that room of so to say the cultural differences, the language differences on actual and meaningful feedback. And not only with our EL students, but our EL parents and our EL community is how can we be cognizant of that and work towards finding feedback that's true and honest, right, to what we're trying to look for. And that might look different from one group to another, but what do you have any recommendations on how to work on improving that and getting honest and honest feedback from, I wouldn't say honest because maybe to them it might be honest, but meaningful feedback that actually grows, and we can have those conversations of actual growth and what they would actually want to see to improve.
Thank you for that question. Right now, I'll stick to things that may be more practical that come to mind right now, because you all are in charge of things that need to be practical. One is, from a scientist standpoint, we do affirmation exercises, and there's affirmation exercises involved in some of the sessions that teachers participate in. One reason for affirmation exercises is to make people less defensive. like compliment sandwiches. You start with the compliment. But another aspect of affirmations is that it leads people to be more honest because their defenses are down. They don't feel like it's going to be an indictment of their character, whatever it is that they respond with. And so that can be done by changing the wording of a question. That could be done by putting more instructions before the survey. That could be done by not having a survey and rather having conversations. Not as practical, but I'm just putting it out there. Another thing that's not as practical is if these happen according to culture. And so if there were focus groups, for example, that the focus group is led by someone from the culture of the people that are answering the question, they would know how to say it in a way that gets you more objective feedback. And then the final thing I'll say, which is like, I don't even know, like I wish the scientific community could do more of this, is to try to push back against the desire to compare apples and apples, but rather appreciate that different cultures are different. And so, for example, it doesn't work mathematically for the objective at hand, but for example, it would be like this graph, that there be separate graphs for for EL students, for EO students. And it's not to compare them, it's to just look at relative to other people in that group, what types of things can we glean from that? So that it's not about it being a culture thing, but just cultures are different. But within that, we can see how circumstances can lead to differences. The exposure that a student has to caring adults around them and feeling and experiencing that relative to what they experience at home, thinking of that differently. But I know that there is a practical need to be able to bring everything together into a single assessment or measurement. And yeah, I'll stop there.
Very much, and thank you for the report and answering all our questions. I think you've been real impactful in our journey with this, and so we appreciate your report.
Indeed. Thanks for having me. Send me an email. Serious.
Okay, this takes us to our last item of the evening, which is B8, Report on Growth in Early Childhood Education. Ms. Nunes.
For the presentation to be put up there for you. I have been waiting a while. Since last board meeting, I was sick and I wasn't able to come, so. Okay, we are ready. Well, good evening, Board President Lopez, trustees, Dr. Noguchi and Cabinet, and members of the public. I'm Heidi Nunes. I'm the Senior Director of Early Childhood Education. And presenting with me tonight is Olivia Letourneau. She's our Early Childhood Education Specialist, former teacher. And we are excited to present to you regarding the update of the growth that's occurred in early childhood education over the last few years. Tonight, we're going to provide a department overview, share our alignment with TK, share some of the professional development opportunities that we're providing to all staff, give you an update on the enhanced learning environments that we have just recently implemented in all 54 classrooms, share ECE data, some next steps, and then answer any questions that you have. A large majority of the work that we do in ECE aligns with District Goal 1 to increase academic achievement, to ensure equitable access to enable all students to attain college and career readiness. This is something that's very big for us this year, and we are ensuring that every student has a guaranteed instructional program, not by chance, but by design as outlined in the instructional core vision. And this is something that we've intentionally aligned with because in the past, ECE has not been included in this. So this is something we're very proud of. So to give you an overview of our department, early childhood education is a very large department that serves close to 1,300 students when we're fully enrolled. We have Head Start and Part Day Preschool, and we also have full day Head Start programs which serve, we have 32 Part Day preschool classrooms, 18 part-day Head Start classrooms, and 3 full-day Head Start classrooms offered at 18 sites across the district. We also include a family child care home network that includes 15 providers who serve infant and toddlers and preschool age students in private homes across the city. Our family child care team supports these providers with curriculum, instruction, developmentally informed practice, and is considered a model-worthy program by the California Department of Education. Our early childhood education department team consists of 135 certificated, classified, and management members who work collectively to support our littlest learners. ECE programs, along with transitional kinder, make up the Universal Pre-Kindergarten initiative that is being implemented by the California Department of Education. It's critical that these programs are aligned to provide a solid foundation to ensure kindergarten readiness. To build this coherent system over the last 2 years, we've worked towards having consistent curricula, similar instructional routines and procedures, and aligned assessments, and also the ability to analyze data and define trends to improve instruction in the classroom. Currently, we're implementing the second step curriculum, which is a social emotional development curriculum that is also utilized by TK and K. All preschool and Head Start classrooms are implementing the early pre-K Hegarty curriculum, which teaches early literacy and phonological awareness skills, also aligned with TK and K. And in math, the standards-based calendar, which is a major component of the TK1 curriculum, has been adapted to address the preschool learning foundations and frameworks and has been implemented in all of our ECE classrooms. The routines, procedures, and vocabulary intentionally teach number sense and operations and algebraic thinking standards and are consistent with the math instruction that's happening in our TK classrooms. We are currently in the 3rd year of the preschool through 3rd grade coherence collaboration, which is a partnership. Oops, I went the wrong way. Hang on. How do I get it to go back? The bottom arrow, sorry. Sorry about that. So we are currently in our 3rd year of the P3CC coherence collaboration with the California Education Partners and have been working with other districts in California to create alignment in math instruction from preschool through 3rd grade. The creation and implementation of our standards-based calendar for ECE classrooms is a product of this collaboration and is fully implemented in all of our ECE classrooms. This collaboration has also been the springboard to creating alignment in all other curricular areas to ensure that our students are leaving preschool and Head Start and that they're equipped with social, emotional, literacy, and math skills that are needed to be successful in TKK and beyond. And now I went the wrong way again. I am so sorry. Making sure we're all awake here at the end. Okay, so just as Modesto City Schools is committed to building capacity of all employees, ECE is no different, and we are also committed to providing professional growth opportunities to our certificated, classified, and management staff and our family child care providers. Our coordinators have worked diligently to create a robust professional development plan, which allows our employees access to high quality and relevant professional development. This year, ECE is offering monthly professional development in the areas of social, emotional development and behavior support, early literacy, early math skills, and one that we're especially proud of, which we have our first PD tomorrow, is called Parent to Partner, and this is a collaborative between our parents and our teachers to help build a partnership so that parents can truly be a partner in their child's education. We also offer new teacher and para boot camps, which provide programmatic overviews for our new teachers and paras, as well as curricular and instructional support. MCS has also offered opportunities for our classified and certificated staff to earn ECE units that are required for TK, or also to obtain their child development teaching permit by offering ECE cohorts with UC Merced Extension. And when we are awarded the early educator grant, we will also be partnering with MJC to provide these opportunities. These are great opportunities to support and continue the ECE pathway. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Olivia.
Good evening. On November 3rd, I will have 19 years with Modesto City Schools ECE department. It has been an amazing journey. This is the first time in my career that I've seen our programs have an opportunity to enhance its learning environments. As we did this, we had the opportunity to take the old furniture and materials and also enhance our outdoor environments as well. Not only did we enhance our environments with new furniture, but we were also able to get new materials that can be utilized to intentionally engage children in learning. We had furniture installation days, which was made up of teams that included teachers, specialists, custodians, and management. As we unpacked and placed furniture in the classrooms, we did so intentionally, creating well-defined areas using the early childhood education rating scale known as ECHRS. ECHRS is a tool used to measure the quality of our programs. It is important because it demonstrates how well the program is meeting the needs of children with intentionality behind the design of the classroom. Teachers really appreciate how the ECE management team included us in the process. We had the opportunity to order the furniture, which was great because each classroom is so different in size and shape. Some classrooms needed more furniture than others, and so each classroom's needs were met. And as you can see in the pictures, these are different classrooms, and lots of different furniture was ordered according to that space. As the 22-23 school year began, I had the opportunity to visit the classroom I was teaching in for the 21-22 school year. The returning students noticed the change in our environment immediately. They were oohing and eyeing and exploring with such excitement. There they are, enjoying the new environments. I went back another day and asked the children if I could take a picture of them holding the thank you sign. I explained to them how we were able to get all the new things in our classroom and wanted to show our appreciation. One kiddo said, "Please, yes, say thank you. I love all my new stuff." From all the children and staff, we want to thank you for the new intentionally enhanced environments that will support teachers' teaching and children's learning. Thank you.
So now let's take a look at the data. As part of the programmatic requirements of Head Start and State Preschool, the Desired Results Developmental Profile, or DRDP, is administered twice per year to all ECE students. This is an observational assessment that measures children's knowledge, skills, and progress across a broad continuum of developmental learning. The data is broken down into 4 developmental levels, which are responding, exploring, building, and integrating, and is entered into 2 separate databases as required per program. We've been working with IETS and Assessment and Evaluation to pilot entering and importing the DRDP data into Performance Matters, which will allow us to efficiently analyze data and ultimately guide our instruction. We recently learned from our P3CC lead that we are the only district out of 70+ districts that they work with who are working to include early childhood education in the district's data platform and have the ability to analyze data, track students, and identify trends. We are very excited to be leaders in this area. The DRDP data that I'm sharing now is from the spring of 2022 and shows student progress in 3 learning domains. Our goal is to have all students enter the building and integrating developmental levels by the time they transition to TK or K. You can see that we are well on our way to meeting this goal. 89% of our students enrolled met the developmental threshold in social emotional development. 91% met this threshold in language and literacy development, and 85% met this threshold in math. We are using this as baseline data moving forward due to the implications of COVID, distance learning, excessive absences since 2020, and also with our antiquated data systems. We look forward to seeing the developmental growth in all ECE students as we continue the implementation of our aligned curricula and instructional routines, which is new. We are very proud of the hard and focused work and growth that has continued and has occurred in early childhood education. We will continue to work towards building a coherent system to ensure that our students have the skills necessary to be successful in TK and kindergarten. We will continue to provide professional development to build the capacity of our staff so they are prepared to provide a high-quality ECE program that supports our littlest learners. We did see an impact to enrollment, our ECE enrollment, with the expansion of TK, and we expect that this will continue as full expansion happens in 25-26. Strategic planning will be imperative and ongoing so that we are able to support and serve the families in our community. This will include looking at our current programmatic options and consider more full-day classes to meet the needs of our working families. We also applied for and received the General Child Care Expansion Grant that will provide services to infants and toddlers in a center-based option. There's a community need for infant and toddler centers, and we are looking to potentially open an infant toddler center in our current family learning centers with possible locations at Franklin and Orville Wright. We're currently working with maintenance and operations and an architect to provide a scope and cost analysis for this expansion and renovations that are required to meet community care licensing regulations. We are also working in collaboration with Student Support Services and Special Ed to create a full inclusion preschool program to provide access and individualized support to children with disabilities alongside their peers. There's great work to be done in ECE, but we have much to celebrate. Thank you very much, and we're now open to any questions that you have.
Thank you very much for this great report. I'll take it out to public. Is there any questions, comments?
Thank you, Heidi. It's always a pleasure working with you. I do have some questions, only because I'm in the trenches here. My question, Debbie Martinez, we're La Raza Parents Union. My question is, because we're going to be developing for special eds, but right now we currently have our kindergarten, our preschoolers transitioning into kindergarten. My question is, what are we doing and how are we keeping the data for those children that have autism? Because we're finding that they're going right into mainstreaming GE, and then the autism kicks in with the behavior, which interrupts the normal children that are there that have went through your program, that are ready to succeed, and yet we have our autism children that are not getting that full capacity of service. So what are we doing with those children, and how are we keeping data to make sure that those children that are coming in already delayed in preschool with autism are getting their fair share when they transition into kindergarten?
So this isn't a time to answer questions, but she'll be happy to reach out to you tomorrow and be able to engage. And actually, Mr. Herbst would be another person, another
In fact, I
resource
have
in that.
Wednesday at Garrison, and so this is a need right now that we need to make sure that we're keeping the gaps closed on for those children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from our public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. I have two lights. Trustee Irvin.
Thank you for that report, really good report. It kind of sparked a little wonder in me, as Trustee Myers says. When I look at the language and literacy development and the math, the cognition and the math, and I see the difference between them. And then when you go over time and you get to third grade, the disparity widens. And so I want to look at this data as a way that how can we bridge the current smaller disparity on the front end to keep it as close as possible, you know, when they hit TK and, you know, first grade, you know, kindergarten, first grade. So in third grade, we don't see the kind of, you know, as Ms. Martinez would say, the school to prison pipeline, which that's where everything takes place when they start to talk about that, is at third grade in the language and literacy development. But when you see it now, they're pretty close together when you know, preliminary assessment of what we see here. So how do we keep that assessment, or that data from widening, that those from that language and literacy and that math from widening, you know, to the point where you start to look at pipelines, you know?
Right. Well, one of the things I want to share that we're very excited about is that the alignment that we have now that was not there before. And so we have consistent curricula. So we have the social emotional development. We have the consistent early literacy curriculum. And we also have the component of the standards-based calendar through SWAN Math, where that was not here before. And so what we can have are consistent routines, consistent instructional expectations, consistent we can see the alignment of the standards, where before we were not included in that, and no fault of, I mean, it's district or statewide, not just our district alone. And so this is one of the things that we're very excited about, having this P3 alignment, and it's definitely an initiative from the state as well. The other piece that I'm excited to share is that our database, by entering ECE data into Performance Matters, we'll be able to track those students and see trends and identify trends early on that include when they start school in preschool and Head Start. As right now, it starts in TK, so this is a whole new grade level that we'll be able to include in that data to provide interventions.
Thank you very much. Trustee Maestas?
Yeah, I actually have a similar question than that Deb had. So I'm gonna rephrase it, and then you can still give us more information. You know, a lot of times, pediatricians can be the first line to find, you know, to find, to see those things that, to notice when a child shows symptoms of autism. And that's usually early on, before they get into kindergarten. And parents can have access to therapies and things that before they get mainstreamed into the kindergarten classes. And then we can provide a lot of services. We can provide those services to those kids and those parents and families. But as we know, we've been hit with a pandemic, so kids weren't in some early education programs. And not everybody has health insurance. Health insurance isn't, well, not everybody has health insurance. So we have students that don't have a kids that don't have a pediatrician that go on. So I guess my question here is, what supports do we have in our early education programs to help identify those students and get communication with the parents to maybe get those therapies before we see them transition into kindergarten?
2 points. A good point about the insurance. They would still be entitled to an assessment through Valley Mountain Regional Center, and Regional Center can provide similar services to the ones that you just described. If they were in our ECE program, their teachers would make referrals for a special education assessment. With that, determine eligibility and then the appropriate services. But the challenge I think that you're referencing is if you're not in a state preschool Head Start program, we wouldn't see that kid until they set foot on campus with us, more than likely their kindergarten year. And then we would assess that child, then determine the appropriate level of service after the assessment, assuming that they were eligible. Parent, and assuming that the parent agrees, A, to the assessment, and B, to the IEP on what services we would be recommending.
Which takes time.
Yeah, legally, after an assessment plan is signed, 60 days for the assessments to be completed. And on a child with autism, the assessments are pretty comprehensive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from our board members or comments? Hearing none, this is a report only, so thank you very much, Ms. Nunes, for this report. And then before we close up tonight's meeting, I just want to remind everyone that our next board meeting is back here on November 7th at 6 p.m. So we'll hope to see you then. And do I hear a motion to approve the adjournment for tonight? Moved by Maestas, seconded by Trustee Mejia. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Good night, everyone.